Hi all, welcome back to my video. Today I am going to explain how you can fix AWS throttling errors. I have recently developed a package called AWS Throttle Fixer, which is going to help you to fix throttling errors in AWS SDK. So for this demo, I am also going to use the same package to demonstrate how you can fix throttling errors in AWS. So for this demo purpose, I already created a Node.js project and I have installed 3 libraries, so which is AWS SDK and AWS Throttle Fixer and .env. So basically AWS SDK is required to run API calls to AWS, and the Throttle Fixer is used for resolving throttling errors, and .env is used for reading environmental variables, which I have used in my AWS configuration. So I already wrote few lines of code to connect with my AWS account, and as the next step I'm going to configure Throttle Fixer. So as a first step, let me import the library. Let me name it as Throttle Fixer and require AWS Throttle Fixer, and this is a class, so we have to create an instance. So let me name it as TF, and I'm going to use new TF. Okay, so we can pass few configuration to this. So let me write the configuration in a separate variable. Let me name it as tfconfig, and there are 3 configuration that we can 3 options that we can use for configuration. That the first one is retry count. So retry count is the number of reattempts you want to perform if you run into any errors. So let me put 10 here. So if something goes wrong, it reattempt 10 times. And the next option that we have is logger. So all these 3 configuration options are optional, so you can skip all this if you want. So as the logger, I'm going to use console log. You can use any function that take a single argument, and the next option is exception codes. So this basically allows us to give a specific error code which can be treated as throttling. So if you look into the documentations, you can see these 3 error codes are treated as throttling in default, and if you have to add or if you have to listen to any other error codes, you have to specifically mention that in the exception codes. Now it listens for for this demo I'm going to use an error code called request limit exceeded, and right now it listened for this error code plus all these 3 available. So it now it listened for all 4 error code. And okay, so let me pass this configuration to the configuration method, that is tf.configure. So now we have configured this. Now let's create a callable function. Let me name it as throttle fix function, and I can use tf.throttle fixer. Okay, so that's it with the configuration. Now let me write a function that performs a describe snapshot operation. So let me create an async function first. Create describe first 10 snapshots. So let me use a try catch. and let me console the errors. Okay, now I'm going to create an AWS client. So let me name it as client, and I am going to use new aws.ec2 as the client, because snapshots are part of EC2, so I have to use EC2 as the client. So I have created the client here. So let me actually make the actual API call here. So I'm going to store the response to a variable called response, and let me use await, and I can call describe snapshots operation like this, and I have to pass few parameters, and since I'm using await, I have to pass promise as well. So let me put the params in a separate variable, and let me pass it to the describe snapshot operation, and I'm going to use a parameter called max result. So basically this parameter will limit the number of result to first 10, and I'm going to slightly restructure this. So basically from documents, I know this is going to return a variable called, a key called snapshot, and it's going to be an array. So let me console the length to demonstrate this will actually works. So now we have now we wrote all configuration that is required to list the first 10 snapshot from the AWS account. So let me actually call this function. Okay, so now it will call this function. So now I'm going to run this node index.js. Okay, now there is no issues with this. So it actually did call the API call, and it returned the number of snapshot. It returned the snapshot, and I console logged the number of snapshot available in this particular key. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throttle this request by concurrently running the same request around 400 times. So in order to do that, I'm going to move this specific API call to a separate function. So let me name it as call AWS func call AWS API. Let me name it like that, and I'm going to move this to lines to here. So now this call this AWS API, and I'm going to move this client to somewhere here so that I can use the client in this method, and I'm going to return the snapshot count dot length. Okay, so here I'm going to use a do while loop so that I can concurrently run this request. So to prevent infinite loop, I'm going to use a variable called I, and let me use let. Okay, so I'm going to use a do while, and in the condition I am going to say if I less than 400 times do this thing. So I'm going to increment I as well so that I won't go any infinite loops. A plus 1. So this will run for 400 times, and I'm going to call this operation inside this do loop. Let me. Okay, so now all these this call AWS API function will execute nearly at the same time around 400 times. So this request should throttle now. Let me check that. So now it's running, and let's wait for throttling errors, because we have console logged the console errored the errors, so it should print the error. Okay, now you can see that the throttling error has triggered. It's not actually comes from this error. I have to put a catch block here, so it's my mistake. So console.error. This is how you're supposed to do that. And yeah, so here we have the request limit exceeded. So actually this API is throttled now. So now let's see how we can fix this thing. And what I'm going to use, I'm going to duplicate this line. I'm going to comment the first line so that I can show you the difference how you can use this. So basically you have to call this throttle fix function. So let me remove this all and let me call this function. So this throttle fix function take 3 arguments. The first one is the AWS client, and the second one is the service call. So here in this case that is describe snapshot, and you have to provide this as a string. And as the third parameter you can pass the params. Okay, so now let's run this API call again. Okay, so here you can see that these operations are running, and at some point the API should throttle and it should show that. So let's wait few seconds. Yeah, so okay, so all these requests are now completed, and here you can see at some point the first attempt is throttled. So that's why it's saying like that, request throttling for describe snapshot at attempt 0, and later at some time it automatically retried. So all these requests are successful at the second attempt, and there is no such throttling errors happened. So this is how you can fix the throttling errors with the AWS Throttle Fixer library. And these all console logs you can skip by skipping this configuration. So if you skip this configuration you won't see any of these logs. So let me show you that as well. So now the entire code is executed, and there is no logs are provided. And you can confirm it by just console logging the returned value, that's a snapshot length. So let me just see. So there is no console log, but still the API runs. So you can also if you don't want to use anything, you can skip all this configuration. That is completely optional. Yeah, that's it with the video. Thank you guys.